At our son's 5th birthday party, her sister got drunk and said, "I still can't believe he still thinks the baby is his. You lied so well." My wife froze. I just smiled, sang happy birthday, and left right after cake. 3 days later, she was standing outside my job, crying in the parking lot. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for being here. It means the world. But take a look at this. Only 8% of people watching are subscribed. If you enjoy these stories and want to support more of them, just one click makes a huge difference. Not sure if this belongs here, but need to get this off my chest. Apologies for any formatting issues. Typing this on my phone during lunch break. For background, I'm a 34-year-old electrician married to Sarah, 32, for 8 years. We have a son, Ethan, who just turned 5 last week. At least I thought he was my son. Sarah and I met in college. She was studying psychology. I was doing trade school classes while working part-time. We got married young, struggled a bit financially at first, but eventually settled into a good rhythm. I started my own electrical contracting business 4 years ago, and things have been solid since then. Ethan was born a year after we got married. I was over the moon about becoming a dad, even cut back on jobs for a while to be home more during those first few months. I'm the guy who volunteers at preschool, coaches t-ball, and knows the name of every damn dinosaur because that's what Ethan's into. Being his dad has been the greatest joy of my life. Sarah's sister Jenna has always been the family wild card. She's 2 years younger than Sarah, never settled into a career, moves from relationship to relationship. She's fun but chaotic, the type who makes family gatherings unpredictable. Sarah always made excuses for her behavior, saying Jenna had a rough time growing up and deserved grace. I tolerated her for Sarah's sake. Last Saturday was Ethan's birthday party. Nothing fancy, just a backyard dinosaur-themed thing with about 15 kids from history school and their parents, plus family. Sarah spent weeks planning it. Dinosaur cake, fossil dig sandbox, the works. Ethan was having the time of his life. I was grilling hot dogs when Jenna arrived, already half in the bag. Sarah pulled her aside. They had some heated whispers, but then Jenna seemed to pull it together. She helped with the games, charmed the other parents, and for a while, everything was fine. Around 4 p.m., we gathered everyone for cake. I had Ethan on my shoulders as Sarah brought out this elaborate T-Rex cake she'd special ordered. Everyone was singing happy birthday. Ethan was beaming. It was perfect. As we finished the song, I set him down so he could blow out his candles. That's when it happened. Jenna, who'd been steadily drinking the wine she brought in a water bottle, sidled up to Sarah and said, loud enough for me and at least 3 other parents to hear, "I still can't believe he still thinks the baby is his. You lied so well." The world stopped. Sarah froze, cake knife suspended midair. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, but somehow kept my face neutral for Ethan's sake. He was looking up at me, waiting for me to tell him to blow out his candles, so that's what I did. "Make a wish, buddy," I said, smiling down at my son, or the boy I thought was my son. He took a big breath and blew with all his might, knocking out all 5 candles. Everyone clapped. The moment passed and I started cutting cake while Sarah pulled Jenna inside. I functioned on autopilot for the next hour, handed out cake, thanked parents as they left, helped Ethan open presents, smiled for photos. Not once did I look at Sarah, and kept trying to catch my eye from across the yard. After the last guest left, Sarah approached me, eyes red. "We need to talk about what Jenna said." "Not now," I cut her off, nodding toward Ethan, who was still riding the birthday excitement high, showing his grandmother his new dinosaur toys. "But it's not," I said, "not now, not in front of him." My voice was quiet but firm. I spent the rest of the evening focused solely on Ethan. Bath time, story time, tucking him in. I told him I loved him about 5 times, because no matter what DNA say, he's still my son in every way that counts. I've been there for every skinned knee and nightmare and first day of school. When I came downstairs, Sarah was waiting at the kitchen table. Jenna was gone. "It's not what you think," Sarah started. "Then what is it?" Because it sounded pretty clear to me. She launched into some explanation about how Jenna was drunk and confused, mixing up some storyline from a TV show they'd watched. How could I believe something so ridiculous? We were trying for a baby for months before she got pregnant. Remember all those negative tests? The disappointment? I just stared at her. The woman I'd shared a life with for 8 years, suddenly a stranger. "I'm going to stay at Dave's tonight," I said, referring to my business partner who has a spare room. "I can't do this right now." "You're leaving? Over something?" Jenna said while drunk. "Without even hearing me out?" Sarah's voice cracked. "I did hear you out. I don't believe you." I packed an overnight bag and left. Sarah called and texted constantly that night, but I didn't respond. I needed space to think. The next morning, I called a lab and scheduled a paternity test. Then I called my attorney, a guy who's helped with business contracts over the years. Got some preliminary advice on my options. I didn't tell Sarah about either of those calls. Instead, I texted that I'd be sleeping at Dave's for a few more days while I processed things and would pick up more clothes when she was at work. My priority was keeping things normal for Ethan, so I still took him to preschool Monday morning, acting like everything was fine. Over those next 2 days, I thought a lot about what I wanted. If Ethan wasn't biologically mine, did that change anything about how I felt about him? No. Did it change how I felt about Sarah? Absolutely. On day 3, Sarah escalated. She showed up at my office around 5 p.m., just as I was finishing with a client. "Julie," my office manager buzzed me. "Your wife is here. She seems upset." I finished the paperwork, then went to the parking lot. Sarah was standing beside her car, eyes puffy, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "You can't just disappear like this," she said when she saw me. "You haven't answered my calls. You sneaked into the house yesterday when I was out. Ethan keeps asking where you are." "What did you tell him? That you're helping a friend who's sick?" Her voice softened. "Please come home. We can work this out." "Is he mine, Sarah?" She looked away. "How can you even ask that?" "Of course he's yours." Jenna was drunk and being malicious. She's always been jealous of me. I studied her face, the face I thought I knew better than my own. Why would that specific lie be the one she'd tell? Of all the hurtful things she could make up, Sarah had no answer for that. "The paternity test is tomorrow," I said quietly. "I'd like you to bring Ethan." Her face went white. "You scheduled a paternity test without talking to me? That's insane, and it's going to traumatize him. It's a cheek swab, and he doesn't need to know what it's for. Tell him it's a dental checkup for all I care." "I won't do it. I refuse." I shrugged. "Then I'll get a court order." I wasn't sure if I actually could, but she didn't know that. She stared at me for a long moment, then her shoulders slumped. "Fine. But when it shows you're his father, I want an apology. And I want you to cut Jenna out of our lives for good." "Deal." I didn't sleep that night, just stared at the ceiling in Dave's spare room, cycling through memories. Ethan's birth, his first steps, teaching him to ride a bike. How could any of that be based on a lie? The next day, we met at the lab. Sarah was cold, Ethan was confused, but cooperative when the technician swabbed his cheek, then mine. They said results would take 2 to 3 business days. I went back to Dave's, Sarah took Ethan home, and we waited. What Sarah didn't know was that I had already done a home paternity test the day after the party. I'd ordered one online months ago. After finding some suspicious text messages on Sarah's phone, she'd explained them away, and I'd felt guilty for doubting her, so the test kit sat unopened in my truck's glove compartment, just in case. The morning after the party, I took a swab from one of Ethan's toothbrushes before dropping him at preschool. The results had come back yesterday. 0% probability of paternity. I wasn't Ethan's biological father. The official test was just to make it impossible for Sarah to deny it. But I already knew the truth, and had spent the past day getting my ducks in a row. I'd spoken with my attorney again, clarifying my rights and options. I'd transfer half our savings to a separate account, not to hide it, but to protect it until things were settled legally. I documented everything from Jenna's statement to Sarah's denial. The day after the lab test, Sarah called. "We need to talk. Not about the test, about something else." Her voice was strange, hollow. "I'm listening." "Not on the phone. Can you meet me at Riverside Park, the bench by the duck pond?" It seemed like an odd request, but I agreed. When I got there, Sarah was already waiting, staring out at the water. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "I have something to show you," she said, not making eye contact. She handed me her phone, opened to a text conversation with Jenna. I scrolled through, my stomach turning with each message. It was from the night of the party. "Sarah, how could you say that in front of everyone? What's wrong with you?" "Jenna, Ugh, stop being so dramatic. No one heard. Sarah, at least 4 people heard you, including Rob. This isn't some joke. Jenna, please. He's been raising another man's kid for 5 years. He deserves to know. I'm sick of being your accomplice. Sarah, you promised you'd never tell. We had an agreement. Jenna, agreements change when you sleep with my boyfriend. Yeah, I know about you and Chris last year, so consider us even now. There was more, but I'd seen enough. I handed the phone back to Sarah, feeling strangely calm. Who's the father? A guy from my master's program. It was a one-night thing. We'd been fighting, you and me, about money, about whether we were ready for kids. I was drunk and stupid. She finally looked up at me. I never meant for this to happen. For what to happen? Getting pregnant with another man's child, or passing that child off as mine for 5 years? She had no answer. I stood up. The lab called. Official results are back. Not that we need them now. What are you going to do? She whispered. I've already done it. Check your email. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I'd had my attorney draft a separation agreement that laid everything out. Joint custody of Ethan. I'd included a clause acknowledging I wasn't the biological father, but was the legal father and intended to remain in his life. Division of assets, child support arrangements. You still want custody? She asked, voice breaking. Even knowing? He's my son, I said simply. DNA doesn't change that. And us? There is no us anymore. You made sure of that 5 years ago. And again, every day since that you chose to maintain the lie. She started crying then, those body-shaking sobs that normally would have moved me to comfort her. I felt nothing. One more thing, I said. I want you to tell him when he's old enough. Not now, but someday. And I want to be there when you do it. He deserves the truth. She nodded, unable to speak through her tears. I walked away, leaving her on that bench, got in my truck, drove to the office, and buried myself in work for the rest of the day. It's been 2 weeks now. I've moved into a small apartment near Ethan's preschool. We have temporary custody sorted, 50-50, week on, week off. Sarah and I only communicate about Ethan. The divorce paperwork is in process. Jenna reached out once, full of apologies and excuses. I blocked her number. Ethan's adjusting as well as can be expected. He doesn't understand why Dad and Mom don't live together anymore, but we've kept the transition smooth. The night he's with me, we have guy time, dinosaur documentaries, building forts, making pizza. I treasure every moment more than ever. Sometimes I look at him and search for signs of this other man, this stranger whose DNA he carries. But all I see is my son, the boy who runs to me yelling, "Daddy." The kid who knows I'll always check under the bed for monsters. The little person I've loved since before he was born. Sarah wants to try counseling. Thinks we can rebuild. Doesn't understand that some things can't be fixed. Some betrayals cut too deep. It's strange. People ask if I'm angry. I was at first. But now, I'm just grateful. Grateful that I know the truth. Grateful that despite everything, I still have my son. Sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't something you do. It's simply refusing to play along with someone else's lies anymore. It's walking away with your dignity intact and your priorities straight. Ethan comes first. Always has, always will. Biology be damned. Edit. Wow, didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Thanks for the support, and also for the tough questions. Trying to address the main ones. To the people saying I'm raising another man's child like a chump. Seriously? Being a dad isn't about DNA. It's about showing up. It's about dinosaur nightlights and teaching him to throw a ball and kissing scraped knees. I've been there for every moment of this kid's life. Some random guy who donated genetic material doesn't make him less my son. About why I didn't confront Sarah immediately at the party. There were 15 kids there, including my son who was excited about his birthday. I'm not about to create a scene that ruins his day. Adults handle their business like adults. For those asking if I've tried to find the biological father, no, and I don't plan to. Sarah says he doesn't know about Ethan, and I'm not interested in complicating my son's life further right now. When Ethan's older, that might be his choice to make. Several people suggested I'm being too nice about custody. Look, I could fight for full custody, drag Sarah through the mud, but what does that accomplish, except hurting Ethan? He loves his mom. She's a liar, but she's not abusive or neglectful. punishing her by taking away her child would only punish him too. And yes, I've confirmed with my lawyer that I am legally his father, regardless of biology. I'm on the birth certificate. I've been acting as his father for 5 years with no evidence or claim to the contrary. And in our state, that's enough to establish paternity by presumption. To the person who DM'd me saying I should teach her a lesson by taking everything in the divorce, that's not who I am, and it's not the example I want to set for my son. The separation agreement is fair. I'm not trying to financially destroy her. I just want out of the marriage with my relationship with Ethan intact. Last thing, some of you noticed I said I'd found suspicious texts months ago. They were messages to someone saved as Chris, with stuff like, "Miss you," and "Last night was fun." When I asked her about it, she said it was her coworker Christina, and they'd been out for drinks with work friends. I chose to believe her because I wanted to. Classic mistake. Trust your gut, folks. Thanks again for letting me vent. Focusing on moving forward now.